Namaste everyone. Welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House. We are continuing with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, offered by Bindoji from an Advaita perspective. The replays of the earlier rooms are available. You can access them in Clubhouse, or you can go to the channels shared in the chat. One channel that is available, which is well cataloged, is the YouTube channel called Advaita Retold. There is also links for Apple and Spotify. And there's a book penned by Artemisia, which is insights offered by Binduji and penned by Artemisia, titled The Imaginary Door, which is published on Amazon. The link is shared. For housekeeping, I'm going to close the chat and hand raising when Binduji is conducting the class, which will last for an hour, after which we'll open up those channels for any clarifications and questions and answers. As always, thank you very much, Binduji. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and Hari Om to all of you. My invocations. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhya Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashi Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Guru Namaha. The Gita Dhyana Shlokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutah Stunvandi Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapada Panishadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyandam Navidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Only few more verses left in the fourth chapter to be completed. We have completed the 39th verse. What is remaining is 40, 41 and 42. Just 3 more verses. The 39th verse described the 3 qualifications of the successful seeker of jnana. Shraddhavan Tatparaha Samyatandriyaha, which we discussed in detail in the last class. And the rectification of that is indicated as Parashanti, the bliss of Brahman or bliss of the self. Now this next verse, 40th verse, presents the direct opposite or a counterpart of the negative aspects of the same three components. The 3 corresponding deficiencies and their consequences. This verse functions almost like a mirror image of the verse which we completed from the, 2 opposite aspects of it. Who gains and who loses? And what is the achievement and what is the loss? Atra samsheha na kartavya. Patishto hi samsheha. Katam iti uchyate. So one should not entertain any doubt in this manner, in this case. Because doubt is the most vicious thing. Katam iti uchyate. Why? That is now being described in the 40th verse. Atnyascha ashraddhadanascha samshayatma vinashyati. Nayam logo asti na paro na sukham samshayatmanaha. So the entire thing is pivoted on the word samshaya. The first word is atnya, atnyascha. The atnya is the pullingam for the word atnyani, one without knowledge or jnana, one who does not know the reality, the ignorant one, or the one who is lacking in that jnana, atma jnana. The knowledge of Atman as Brahman that constitutes tattva jnana of the jnana prakarana which we completed, that tattva jnana, tattvavidaha, that is not there in the case of a atnya. The most general of the three conditions, or rather the baseline conditions of avidya, in which all samsaric beings, that means all ignorant, those who are in the empirical reality, exist, they all exist before the tattva jnana arises. Every jiva by default is an atnya. That is why he feels he is a jiva. In this sense, until the aparokshanubhava occurs, where the tattvavida or the tattvajnana fructifies, every jiva is potentially in a state of ignorance. But this state of atnya is redeemable. Their condition is not permanent, because ignorance can be eradicated by knowledge. And for that, we need to do certain sadhana, that's all. And the sadhana includes Shravana Manana Nididhyasana and Guru Upadesha. The three qualifications which was mentioned in the previous verse, 39, if these are met, the sadhana and the Guru Upadesha, that is Shravana Manana Nididhyasana and the Guru Upadesha takes place, the same atnya will become jna, that is knowledgeable, with knowledge. The atnya condition is therefore serious but not final. That is the starting condition for every aspirant before he takes to the teaching and does the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, etc. So atnya is described. The second word used by Krishna here is ashraddhadhana. In the previous verse he used the shraddhadhana. The opposite of shraddhadhana is the ashraddhadhana here. The one who does not have shraddha, who lacks the faith and receptivity to the teachings. He does not place trust in the teacher or the Shruti Vakyas. And he lacks, therefore, Shraddha. The state of the faithlessness or the unreceptiveness of the individual to even pursue the path of knowledge. Because only if you have a Shraddha, you will be willing to pursue the path. So this being more specific and more concerning than atnya. Atnya is by default, everyone is atnya. But when we hear about the possibility of redemption from the pangs of empirical life, there is this method of teaching the Shruti Vakya, which is called the Pramanas. If when it is known, there is a receptivity in the person, then he can proceed in that direction. But if he has no faith or receptivity toward that, such a person is called Ashraddha Dana. He is not merely without jnana, but actively without Shraddha. He is a Ajna and Ashraddha Dana. Only he is first, by default he is an Ajna. By refusing to eradicate the ignorance with knowledge, accepting Shruti and Guru Vakya as the valid means of knowledge, that is not there in the person. Therefore, he becomes Ashraddha. Shraddha is the foundational precondition for Shabda Pramana, the teaching of Shruti and Guru Vakya, which is the only source or the only domain where the Atma Jnana is being taught. No other methodology is available for that. Therefore, the Ashraddha Dana has closed the door for such knowledge, Atma Jnana, which can deliver the Tattva Jnana. Not through external obstacle, but through inner refusal. It is not that he is not aware of it, where it is available, who is teaching it, how to learn it, all those information he has. But there is an inner refusal. Either saying, I am an atheist, I don't believe in all those things. Or, I am scientific, therefore these ancient scripture and all those things are not acceptable to the modern science. That is the stand which he is taking when he is making a refusal. It can be understood if he has ventured to know the details of it and he has valid logical points to refute that this is not what it says, it is all humbug or bogus. He has no such knowledge for refuting also. But he is a refusal for him, there is. Just because either it is treated as religious or treated as superstition or treated as ancient scripture which is no validity in the modern world. So this inner refusal is something which is not very easy to be eradicated. Shankaracharya distinguishes between the two, Ajna and Ashraddha Dana. The Ajna lacks jnana, but may have Shraddha, may be pursuing sadhana, may be progressively removing avarana, slowly and all. Whereas the other Ashraddha Dana lacks Shraddha itself, and therefore cannot receive jnana even if it is transmitted by a Tattva-darshan or a Guru. Therefore, the Guru Upadesha reaches them as mere sound, not as a pramana. Pramakaranam pramana. What produces knowledge in us is called pramana. So, the scriptural words or the Guru's teaching are considered pramana only in the case of Atma Jnana, because nowhere else you can get it. They don't take it as a pramana, not as pointing towards Atman, not as a Mahavakya, whose meaning can be reflected upon. All these things they refuse it. Therefore, the Shraddhadana is thus in a more precarious position than the mere Ajnani. They have the additional obstacle of lack of Shraddha, or the inner refusal, which is blocking their path. But the most dangerous and calamitous among the three is the next one. Samshayatma. Samshaya means doubt. The Atma here is Swabhava, whose nature is doubting. Everything he doubts. Not only he is doubting Atma, he is doubting the words of the teacher who is talking about Atma. He is doubting about the validity and, acceptance of the Shruti Vakyas or the Upanishad and the statements. So, one who has the nature as constituted in the form of doubt, or one who is doubt is through and through. His Atman itself is a doubt. Atman means Swabhava. His very nature is to doubt. So, Samshaya Yukta, one who has doubt, or Samshaya Shila, one who is disposed of having doubt on certain times and everything, they are less dangerous or less into problem, but a person whose very nature is doubting everything. Samshayatma. So the innermost being is to doubt. He doubts everything. He doubts himself. He doubts his family. He doubts his teacher. He doubts everything. It is constitutional for him, the doubting. It is not an incidental, incident by incident he doubts. Therefore, it pervades the person's entire being, every perception, every response, every engagement. All these things, he doesn't accept it as valid. What is this samshaya specifically? What is the nature of samshaya? Doubt. Being suspended between two alternatives and never with a resolution. Doubt, irresolution, the inability to commit to either of the alternatives of a dilemma. It is the cognitive state in which the mind holds two contrary propositions as equally possible and cannot resolve to one. Ubhayada anavadharanam. Non-determination in both directions. In the Advaitic context specifically, samshaya about Atmajnana, that is the condition where the sadhaka simultaneously believes the Atman may be Brahman and Atman may not be Brahman. I am Atma Brahma, that Mahavakya, he has heard it. Shravana has occurred. But Manana has not resolved the doubt. Forget about the Nididhyasana. Shankaracharya identifies samshaya, doubt, as more destructive than mere ashraddha. For the reason, the ashraddha dana, or the one who has no shraddha, at least knows their position. They do not accept the teaching, they can potentially be pursued. But in the case of a samshayatma, having suspended between acceptance and rejection, they have partially accepted because they have heard about Atma, Brahman, etc. They may have some shraddha, but doubt is a chronic disease in him, which prevents proper manana. He is not able to logically arrive at a conclusion because he is caught between the two, whether it is right or wrong. That doubt is a disease actually in him. And aparoksha anubhava, it is next to impossible for such a person. Even if it happens, he will doubt it. So what do we do? Samshayatma is like a person who has boarded that raft, plava, jnana plava. But he keeps jumping off every now and then. And he never allows the raft to leave the shore. Forget about reaching the other shore. Because he jumps into that jnana plava, but doubts whether it will sink or not. He will jump back. Similarly, he will listen, go for 1 or 2 days, attend to it, then he has a doubt. Or am I getting converted? Or is it a religious thing? Or is it superficial thing or superstition? Or these things are his disease in him. So Krishna says, Samshayatma vinashyati. A person who is doubting, this is not only for Atmajnana, it is for everything in our life. A doubting person perishes due to this disease of doubt. Vinashyati. Perishes. He is destroyed. He himself destroys himself by not allowing himself to be eradicated of that disease of doubt. Therefore, he goes toward the complete ruin. A person, a householder who is into this doubting habit, his house will be in a chaos. He will not take a decision. He will not allow anybody to take a decision. So the setback for such a person is not partial, but it is a complete destruction. Atyanta nasha. But who is this specifically perishing? Shankaracharya reads the grammar carefully and tells that the verse lists all the three. Ajna, Ashraddhadana, Samshayatma. All the three. Because there is, in between each one of them, Krishna has used the word cha, means and. Suggesting that all the three perish without achieving the Tattvajnana. But then, Krishna is reiterating in the second line, specifically means Samshayatma is losing iha para sukha. The most complete destruction is reserved for the Samshayatma. All three fail to attain jnana. That's not a problem. Let them not get. Thereby fail to reach parashanti. That is also acceptable. They all perish in the sense of missing the supreme goal of Paramartha Tattva. But the Samshayatma specifically suffers the most complete destruction. Krishna describes him in the second line because their condition is the most actively self-undermining. They neither commit to sadhana, which would eventually ripen to Shraddha, nor hostility, reject the teaching, which would have at least leave them with the worldly good they can still pursue. They are perpetually suspended, gaining neither the worldly goods. Their resolution prevents them from pursuing the worldly goods, and then wholeheartedly they are rejecting the spiritual good, and their doubt prevents them from even taking a step forward. So Krishna says in the second line, Nayam loko asti na paro na sukham samshayatmanaha. Na ayam loko asti. This world does not exist for them. The literal meaning. What does it mean? In the 31st verse, Nayam logo asya atnyasya. That is there, Krishna said about the atnya. He doesn't get this world. The same formula is applied here also to Samshayatma. This world does not exist for them means the Ihaloka does not provide the Samshayatma with genuine human flourishing, which is normally can happen to a person who is Atnya or Ashraddha Dana. They can turn the leaf and become, that knowledge can happen in their case, but not in the case of Samshayatma. Not because they are expelled from the world, but because their perpetual irresolution prevents the full engagement with any worldly pursuit. So this doubting disease, it is not even good for the worldly life. A person who has got this as a disease, forget about his worldly success, forget about his anything like, achievements in the life or achievements towards the spiritual path. The Samshayatma who doubts whether Dharma leads to moksha cannot commit fully to Dharma because they doubt its fruit, nor they are fully into Adharma. Because they have a half faith Dharma matters. So they hover between the Dharma and Adharma. The worst of both worlds, neither worldly success of committed worldly person, nor the spiritual attainment of a fully committed sadhaka. So Ihaloka does not exist for them. They cannot fully inhibit and succeed even in an ordinary human world because of their doubt prevents the total commitment that worldly success requires. If the worldly success is not possible for such people, what to talk about the other world? Na paraha. The higher worlds of Sorga, Brahmaloka or Videha Mukti, etc. the spiritual destinations also does not exist for the Samshayatma. Their doubt prevents the sadhana, and that would have produced punya for Swarga, Brahmaloka, etc. Even when they perform karma, they are half-hearted. That karma yoga or any yoga is not possible for them. So their Brahma Vidya is also not completed. Therefore, the higher worlds that are told for those who are reducing the sins, even that is not possible in the case of a Samshayatma. So if that is the case, where can he be happy at all, at any point of time? Neither he is happy within himself, nor can he give happiness to others. Na sukham. Happiness, joy, or well-being is the most immediate and universal human good. But for this Samshayatma, lacks even this most basic good. For sukha requires commitment. But when you are in doubt, you cannot commit. The samsaric pleasures of Vishaya Sukha requires a pursuit with commitment for worldly goods. In the case of a Samshayatma, due to the doubting, the value of all worldly goods, because they believe half in moksha and half in the worldly things. Therefore, cannot fully commit to either of them. The Atma Sukha, Ananda of Atman, requires commitment, pursuit of jnana, to make it as an aparoksha anubhava. He doesn't pursue it fully. Therefore, he cannot achieve that. So he has left the worldly pleasures thinking that he will pursue it, but halfway through, like how he is getting out of the raft, jnana plava, every now and then, he is neither enjoying the worldly pleasure, nor is he attaining the Atma Sukha. Therefore, the Samsayatmanaha, the one who is diseased with doubt, is the one who is entire being is constituted of irresolution. Atnya has not yet attained jnana, but he can. The Ashraddhadana does not accept the teaching, but he can be pursued to accept it. He may develop a faith and Shraddha. The Samsayatma is suspended between acceptance and rejection. Therefore, this is the most desperate situation, because the very instrument of resolution, which is the manana, which would have resolved the doubt, is prevented by the doubt itself. So the Samshayatma needs to resolve the doubt in order to proceed to manana. But manana that resolves the doubt, the vicious circle of irresolution that destroys all possible good for him. The hierarchy, Shankaracharya says that Ajna, or the one without knowledge, is the starting condition, potentially redeemable through sadhana. Slow progress, but not a complete ruin. Then number 2 is the Ashraddhadana, more serious than mere Ajna, ignorant person, because it actively blocks the means of redemption or want of faith or Shraddha, but potentially removable if Shraddha is cultivated through Satsanga, etc. The most complete failure is in the case of Samshayatma. The most difficult to get a remedy for it, because the very tool for resolution is undermined by the doubt as his nature, Samshaya Atma, Swabhava. So Samshaya as a worst case for Ajna, for Advaitic practice, is singled out by Krishna and Shankaracharya. One who has Samshaya can never even visualize what is Tattvajnana, because he doesn't undertake any journey. Considering that other domains, doubt whether the medication works can be resolved by an empirical trial. Take the medicine, observe the result. Doubt about whether the bridge is safe can be resolved by the inspection, engineering, etc. But the doubt whether the Atman is Brahman cannot be resolved either by an empirical trial like the medicine trial, or nor can be done with an external expansion because Atman is Pratyagatma, the innermost subject, which cannot be objectified for inspection. The only resolution for this is Manana, and that Manana Nididhyasana, both which require commitment to practice, that the Samshayatma doubts even that. Therefore, the Samshayatma is uniquely self-sealing trap, and that only Shraddha, the willingness to take the teaching on the Pramana authority and commit to Manana, can break it. But it is very difficult for a person who is having the nature of doubting as it's his own nature. So the Shankaracharya reads Nayam Loka Na Para Na Sukham as a complete analysis of the human good, divided into three domains. Ayam Lokaha is the worldly success of human flourishing. Para is the spiritual attainment of, Swarga through Karma Kanda or Karma Yoga, etc. Sukha is the happiness, the subjective well-being, the actual felt experience of joy and ease when the Aparoksha Anubhava takes place. By declaring that the Samshayatma loses all the three, this particular verse asserts that the doubt about the Tattvajnana destroys every dimension of human good. Not only the spiritual attainment, but the worldly success also. Now this verse 40 is connected to Arjuna's situation. Arjuna in chapter 1 displayed precisely the Samshayatma condition. Suspended between the fighting as a dharma, Kshatriya dharma, and not fighting due to his karuna and the dharma feeling towards his teacher and the grandsire and relatives. He is half committed to neither, achieving neither the worldly success which he would have bought it by battle when it is fought, or the spiritual attainment of his dharma if is also violated now by not fighting it. Experiencing sukha in neither state is what he is heading to. Therefore, the entire Gita has been the progressive resolution of Arjuna's samshaya. And this verse, 40th verse, identifies this as the most catastrophic possible condition, motivating the urgency of the chapter's final instruction, which will come in the 42nd verse, where Krishna will say that, Arjuna, please get up and cut the tree of doubt, chitvavina, samshayam, uttishta bharata. The Shankara Bhashya translation is Ajnascha, the one who is ignorant, Anatmasnya, Anatmatnyascha, who has not known the self, and Ashradadhanascha, one who is faithless. Guru Vakya Shastreshu Avishwasavamscha, who has no faith in the instructions of the teacher and the scriptures. Samshayatmascha Samshayachittascha, who has the doubting mind. Vinashyati perishes. Ashradadano yadyapi vinashyataha na tada yata samshayatma. Although the ignorant and the faithless get ruined, yet it is not to the extent that a man with a doubting mind does. Samshayatma tu papishta. Sarvesham. As for one with a doubting mind, he is the most vicious of them all. Katam. How? Nayam sadharanopi loka asti. Neither in this world which is familiar, tata na param lokaha, nor also the next world. Na sukham, nor happiness asti. Samshayatmana, for one who has a doubting mind. Tatravi samshayotpattehe samshaya chittasya. For a person who doubt is possible even with regard to them. Tasmat samshayo na kartavya. Therefore, one should not entertain doubt. The next verse, I don't think we can do that. Anyway, the next verse 41 is the crown portrait of a Jivan Mukta as a Karma Yogi. The person in whom Karma Yoga Sannyasta Karma, Jnana Sanchinna Samsheha, and Atmanishta, Atmavan, are simultaneously and completely present. Therefore, the verse declares with absolute finality, for this person, actions do not bind. Na karmani nibadnanti. The definitive resolution of the question that has driven the Gita from the first chapter onwards. The verse number 41, let us start this today. Kasmat, why? Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya. Dhananjaya, O Arjuna. Yoga sanyasta karmana. One who has renounced action through yoga. See, it's a compound word. Yoga plus sanyasta plus karma. Yoga sanyasta karmana. Karmana. It's an extraordinary philosophical dense word. Each one have to be seen in its own meaning. Yoga, sannyasa, karma separately. Yoga, here it is not mere practice, but specifically karma yoga, the sustained discipline of acting without kartrutva abhimana. I am the doer, nor the phala akanksha, that is the desire, the fruit of action, which was elaborated through chapter 3 and 4. So the yoga of the entire chapter's teaching is Brahma Karma Samadhi. Not only that, Atma Samyama Yoga, which was taught in the 27th verse. And the yoga that is Jnana Deepita. It is lit by the knowledge of Tattvajna. Therefore, the yoga as the instrument, karana, by which the renunciation is achieved. Sannyasta means completely renounced, fully placed down or thoroughly relinquished. Sam yoga ni yoga hasta. Sam is for completely. Ni is downward or setting aside. Sta is to place. So, completely placed aside or thoroughly renounced. So, sannyasta is a stronger than mere tyakta, abandoning or, discarding. It implies the complete, definitive, irreversible renunciation, where what is renounced is not merely set aside, but thoroughly dissolved as a concern. It is no more that aspect of when you relinquish something. It doesn't give even remain even as a memory in your mind that you have even relinquished it. That is the state of sannyasa, sannyasta. And what is that in both these things, yoga and sannyasta? What is common to them? Karma. Karmanam. Therefore, karma as a bandha generating mechanism. Karma driven by kartrutva abhimana, the doership, and the phalaspriha, the desire fruit of desire. That generates karma bandhana, the bondage due to karma. Karma lepa, the stains of karma. Samskara, in the form of samskara or punarjanma, or rebirth. This is the karma that sannyasta, samshayatma of, which has been mentioned in the previous verse. He is remaining in that karma. It is that karma in the word, if the samshayatma remains in that, the jnani burns it by the karma. Dagda karmani. It is the karma that does not touch Ishvara, Parameshwara. Namam karmani libbanti. So the karma, yoga sannyasta karmana, one whose karma has been completely renounced through yoga. That is the meaning. Yoga sannyasta karmana means the karma has been completely renounced through yoga. So the yoga is the instrument there, and action is sannyasta, and what is the object? Karma. So the karma is not physically abandoned. The body continues to act abhipravartaha, but the renounced in its capacity to bind. Through the yoga, how can it happen? Only if you have the akartrutva jnana, plus phalakangsha virama. There should not be any desire for the fruit of action. So the entire chapter which has elaborated this yoga and the akartrutva is what is brought in by one word, a compound word of yoga sannyasta karmana. Shankaracharya identifies the specific mechanism of this yoga-based renunciation as the karma yogi, practitioner of karma yoga, as chapter defines it. He does not physically renounce action. Na karmanam anarambat naishkarmyam purushosnudai. We started with that. But renounces the kartritva abhimana that constitutes karma as a bandhana. This renunciation occurs only through yoga. How? Specifically the yoga of recognizing Atman as Akarta, observing all actions are yajna, and maintaining a perpetual abidance in Brahma Karma Samadhi. So when Kartritva Abhimana is renounced through this yoga, karma loses its character of binding. But action continues as the prarabdha drives them. But they do not generate karma phala. Namam karmani limbanti. It doesn't stain you, the karmas, even if it is done by the prarabdha, is not touching because you are a akarta. The yoga sannyasta karma is thus a living embodiment which was mentioned in the 20th verses. Karmani abhipravartobi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Fully engaged in action yet truly renouncing the karma's binding power through yoga. That was explained in detail in the 20th verse which we saw. Shankaracharya also note that the Advaitic inflection of sannyasa, the true sannyasa renunciation is not the external donning of ochre robes, etc. But it is the inner yoga based on renunciation of karma's binding agency. So the true sannyasa is the yoga sannyasa of karma. One can wear ochre robes and still be bound by karma if the kartritva abhimana persists. One can act as a kshatriya on a battlefield. That is why he is telling this to Arjuna. And truly, he can remain as yoga sannyasta karma if he is remaining in a Brahma Karma Samadhi attitude. This is the Advaitic sannyasa. It is the inner state, not an external form. There is the next word, jnana satchinna samsheha. Here also there are three words. Jnana, satchinna, samshayam. Satchinna first. Chinoti means to cut, severe, or, uproot. Satchinna means the sun increases the intensity of it by saying completely. When a tree is uprooted without any portion of the root remaining in the mud, the tree cannot regrow again. Or when a rope is cut into two pieces, There is no thread remaining connecting between the two. Like that is the Satchinna meaning, is to cut into thoroughly. I mean, two ways in which it cannot be connected back again. Samshaya, what is to be cut? The doubt itself. The Samshayatma. Here is the specific content in the Jnana context. Doubt about whether Atman is Brahman, whether Tattvajnana is possible, whether the Guru's transmission is true, whether karma truly does not bind. The Samshaya that constitute of all of them together. That is both put together, Ajna and Asraddhadana combination, plus the doubt. This is completely severed in the Satchinna. So when you are doing Satchinna Samshaya, the doubt is, there is no two opposite poles between which he can, sway between one to another. When the Satchinna Samshaya happens, he has no option. Either he accepts the path of spirituality, Tattvajnana and the Guru Vakyas and this thing, or else he goes to the worldly act and remains in the samsara. These are the only. But when you add the word jnana to that, jnana satchinna samshayaha, then he is fully turned towards the spiritual path. Where the jnana becomes the instrument with which we are cutting that doubt. So the jnana becomes the knife for cutting the doubt. So the last verse will call jnana as a sword, jnanasina, that is jnana as an instrument for severing the samshaya, or to cut the samshaya completely. Only jnana, specifically the aparoksha anubhava of Atman or Brahman, can cut samshaya about Atman completely. No external authority, no logical argument alone, however sound, no tapas, yajna or can cut samshaya. The only direct seeing, that aparoksha anubhava of tattva darshana, that leaves no gap for the doubt to persist. We will read the explanation on the commentary and the commentary word translation on Monday, and possibly the last verse also we will take on Monday. Let us see. I'll stop it here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Bindoji. I'm opening the chat and hand raising if there are any follow-up questions.
Namaste, Bindoji.
Namaste, Namaste, Srini.
Bindoji, two quick questions. One is,
Yep.
This samadhi which is being referred, is it Vidvat Sannyasa or Vividisha Sannyasa, or it's something different than both here?
It is different from both.
It is different from both. And in hierarchy, is there any hierarchy? Because I think Vividisha is lower, Vidvat is higher, and this is even higher than Vidvat, is it?
Yes.
Okay. And the second question is this one. So when it says Ajnaha Ashradhavan and Samshayatma Vinashyati, and in the second pada it says that no pleasure of the world can be achieved. It applies to all three, right? It seemed like the Samshayatma is somehow isolated and more given more beating kind of thing. So doesn't it equally apply to all three?
No, in fact, the Ajnaha and Shraddhadana are, the sadhaka point of view, they are unprepared ones. They can be trained and prepared by teaching and, satsanga or Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, etc. But whereas the Samshayatma, is a disease in that person. Even if it is convincing, he instantaneously switches the other side. Logically, he will accept, but he will say, but I don't accept it. Now, what will you do to such a person? By logic, you have proven that, what is being this thing, you are not the body. But at the same time, he says that, yes, I know, I observe my body as an object. Yes, I agree with you. But I am the body. What will you tell to such a person?
Okay. So then finally when we are saying the Samshaya still remains till the Aparoksha Jnana happens, right? So in that point of view, all three are equal, or are we saying the Samshayatma, even by chance if he has Aparoksha Jnana, he will doubt that Aparoksha Jnana also? Or is it that kind of thing that is being proposed?
Initially yes. But when that yoga aspect, when it is brought, Jnana Yoga is brought into the aspect, that is the time the Samshayatma can be influenced. Because there, his Samshaya as a nature, he understands that is coming from the Kartrutva Bhavana, or that notion that I am the doer. When he knows that there is no doer, it is a appearance or a, what you call adhyasa. That knowledge, when it becomes, even when it is as a teaching, it is only doubtful. But when it becomes that it is adhyasa is real, I am not the body, I am beyond the body, I know the body, and that the Jagrata Swapna Sushupti analysis, or, Neti, whichever method he is accepting it. When he is having that Aparoksha Anubhava, and the knowledge that Akartrutva is the reality, then that is the time when he is cutting the Samshaya, Chinna Samshaya, right? That is the time when he has no more doubt on that.
Okay, Binduji. And just final question. Some more I will ask Sunday maybe, because there are people waiting. Can you, in the modern world, whom we call as agnostic, are they close to this Samshayatma, or are they completely different? Do you have like a comment on that?
Agnostics are not Samshayatmas. Agnostics are people who are soft, but they do not want to accept it. But they will be like more like Ashraddhadanas. They don't have a faith in it. They can be, improved upon.
Okay. Thank you, Bindaji. Yeah, I will wait for other questions here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sri. Namaste, Rahul.
Namaste, Bindaji. One main question is regarding Shravana. When can we say that Shravana is completed? Is it like we need to complete the entire, all the 10 Upanishads? Is it the criteria for telling Shravana is completed?
Shravana is complete when it matures into nididhyasana as a conviction. Till then, the Shravana, Manana and nididhyasana are overlapping. The Shravana which you hear as a physical hearing of the Shruti Vakya by the Upanishad or the teacher's words, etc., the physical sound which you are hearing through your ears becomes sound in your mind as when you do manana. That time the manana aspect is more, but still what you are doing manana is on the sound of that what is in your memory. You are taking it back and then and doing an analysis on that. That will move further to become conviction, where you don't need to remember and think about what you have heard. But that is the time when it is the manana aspect shrinks and the shravana is now giving direct result to the nididhyasana. The in between the shravana manana aspect has no more role to play because the Shruti Vakya becomes an anubhava for you or a conviction for you. This is how you have to understand the Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana's functioning.
Okay, so in that case, like if I can just do Shruti of Shravana of 2-3 Upanishads and do Manana and Nididhyasana on that, that should be enough, right?
Yeah, even one statement is enough. Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi or whatever is, clicking for you to, do the manana on that. That is enough.
Okay. Okay, one more question, Vinod. It might sound a little silly, but the Shravana, is it like the thing that we do here through online and all, even through YouTube videos offline? Is it considered as Shravana?
Shravana is called Shravana in the Advaitic sense only when you consider it is that what is being heard is about me and it is talking about my reality. When you get the feeling that it is being talked about my reality, that is the time the Shravana is really effective. Otherwise, it is what you call verbal interaction between the mind and the the world world outside where the sound is coming from. It can be scriptural reading, it can be YouTube, or it can be lectures or recorded lectures, or anything can be. But that is a interaction between the physical sound and your mental absorption of it. But when you accept it as it is about me, there is a different approach with which you listen to something. It is just like that, you are sitting in the waiting room. The moment I say Rahul, you get a feeling that it is about me. Your attention, your body, your psyche, everything will react in a different way. If I had said, so for example, you are in the waiting room and I say Srinivas. The moment I say Srinivas, that will not make any, impression on you or any movement in your body or in your psyche. Because you are not identifying it as yourself. See the difference between the two? Same way, when it is heard that this Ayamatma Brahma or Prajnanam Brahma or Tattvamasi, all these words were Mahavakyas or the Shruti Vakyas, it can be anything else. No? Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. anything, it can be any statement from Upanishad or any teacher's statement or anything. The moment you feel a click, it is about me, your body and psyche get involved in it, that is the time the Shravana is really taking place. Good enough?
Got it. Thanks, Binaji.
Thank you, Rahul. Namaste, Venkat.
Vinduji, I think you partly answered the question already with Srini and all. This, the skeptics, right? The doubtful, the samshayam is a piece. I think you answered it. Because my observation was, because I have 4 sisters, one of the in-laws, he locks right from the gate every evening, before he sleeps. He locks the gate, he locks the front grill, main door, exit door, 7 locks. Then he goes and he pulls the locks to see that it's really locked. It is impossible. How do nobody can correct this disease. The underneath is a fear. That underneath is a deep fear driving it. Because right. I'm in the insurance industry, the fear we insure, that's a good business. On the other hand, the Shraddha is most misused in a religious context. Because that blind Shraddha, some Jannat, it created terrorists.
Yes.
So this is a second dimension of Shraddha. It's even Shraddha, there is a reward after death also. So
right.
That's another dimension. Now the Shraddha we are talking here is much more elevated. That differentiation, right? The Shraddha with the Gnana is now dealt here, right? In last 2 verses. They're inseparable, right, Binduji? The Shraddha and Gnana. Is that...
Shraddha and Jnana are inseparable in this path, yes. But Shraddha is not talking about generally, I was seeing a short clip where one senior gentleman is standing on the seat of a aircraft and talking to a youth who told him that I don't believe in God. So that senior person is asking, so when you came up in the stairs into this thing, did you notice which is this aircraft? He says no. Do you know which company made this aircraft? No, I don't know. Do you know how this aircraft is taking into the air? What is the principle with which it is taking into the air? The boy says no. Do you know who is in control of the aircraft? He said the pilot. No, okay, you know it's the pilot. Do you know the pilot? He says no, I don't know the pilot. Do you know whether the pilot is trained or not? I don't know. Without knowing nothing of this thing, you still have the confidence to sit in the chair and this seat and say that you will fly to your destination. So if you can do this much of this thing, there is somebody who at least accept that there is something which is running the whole world. Daily sun, you have sunrise and sunset and everything, the whole thing. So don't talk, I don't believe in God by following some stupid people that I don't believe in God. He was scolding that youngster on that aspect. So that is what I said. The Shraddha is something which can be made people to understand even if they are not accepting it in the beginning. By giving the logic behind it, then they will listen. But as you said, your relative's case, the doubt when it is there, it's very, very difficult thing. It just cannot possible.
is the science-induced doubts. They want a material proof. So that's a disease again.
Yes.
Yes, so somebody they wanted to, he was dreaming of the day when consciousness will be sold in kilos. So how do you help? So, okay, best wishes. So,
That's all.
disease option was so good that now I relate to so many things now.
Yeah. We'll meet on Monday. Oh, Sunday is that open house. And
Yes,
Monday
Sunday
we
is
may
open.
be finishing. Yeah, Monday we may finish this this chapter. And since I am traveling on Saturday, the
Yes.
following Sunday I may not be able to do the open house. So after Monday, we can keep one day, Tuesday, for an open house, especially follow up for the Gita and any other questions which are there. Then I will let you know the date for the 5th chapter commencement after I settle down in Australia, after a week or so.
Okay.
Then we can start Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 days in a week. We will have classes on Gita. But the timing will be morning Indian 6:30 hours.
6:30. Yeah. Okay. And Yash is on board. He is now a moderator in the house, and he is agreed
Okay,
to set up the replay for chapter 3 and 4 at the regular time, 8:30 p.m.
okay,
IST.
okay,
So we can have that going, and then your classes will be, once you're settled down, we can start to schedule the following chapter.
right,
Yes.
okay, okay, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay,
Then we'll meet again at 8:30 p.m. 8:30 p.m. IST on Sunday for the Advaita open discussion. And there's a lot of things to do manana on with the verse 41 and 40. As always, thank you very much, Bindoji. This was a deep manana into Shraddha and Samshaya and renunciation and relinquishment. There's a lot of deep tool set that one can access through Sravana Manana. And as always, the replays are available in Clubhouse, so you can go to the link shared in the chat. And we will see you on Sunday at 8:30 p.m. IST. Thank you very much, Bindoji. Over to you to close the room.
thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Srini, Rahul, and Venkat for your questions. See you all on Sunday for the general Q&A. Hari Om. Good night.
Thank you.